Welcome back to your Fantasy Nerd, where today we're going to be talking about the tight ends for the July-August version. So we'll quickly go through the top 10. At number 1, Rob Gronkowski. At number 2, Jimmy Graham. Number 3, Travis Kelce. Number 4, Greg Olsen. 5, Martellus Bennett. 6, Jason Witten. 7, Julius Thomas. At number 8, Jordan Cameron. 9, Delanie Walker. And at number 10, Dwayne Allen. So the first guy we'll talk about is at number 3, Travis Kelce.
He's just like Gronk. He's the number one target in that offense. I mean, we were talking about how we dislike Macklin, and a big part of it is because they have Kelce, who's going to get a lot of touchdowns this year. I would probably say 7 to 9 is my projection for him. So I really like Kelce. We both have him 3. So I could see him. He could actually be a number. I just so hard to go in front of Gronk and Graham. I mean, yeah. I think he'll definitely be number 3, though.
Yeah, I think if there's one guy that can surpass Graham, it's probably Kelce, because in that offense, like you said, there's really no threats besides Macklin. And Kansas City loved to throw him the ball last year. I mean, I think he had 76 catches, so he really is a great threat.
The Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at him, beginning of the year he wasn't great, but when they really started to give him the ball a lot more, he kind of played like the Zach Ertz role the way he did in Philadelphia, where he kind of started out slow, but then as they realized the talent he had, he kind of got thrown in there a lot more. Anthony Fasano is now gone. I think that's a huge help for him, because a lot of the times when Kelce wasn't on the field, it was because they had the blocking tight end Fasano in there. So I think now that Kelce's out there, probably for 90% of the time, I think Kelce's a great player, great tight end to take at number 3. He's probably a 5th-round value, so that's where I would start to look for him. All right, now number 7, Julius Thomas going to Jacksonville.
I have mixed emotions about this. I think he would have been a lot higher if he was still in Denver. He's got Bortles throwing him, a second-year quarterback. I mean, I think Bortles was, besides Derek Carr, in my opinion, was the best rookie quarterback last year. I think Thomas is he'll be their number 1 target in that offense. You'd have to think if they need a touchdown or something, they'd go to him over Allen Robinson. It's just a question mark around him, because you don't know how he's going to go switching offenses, especially going into a worse offense. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I have Julius Thomas at 6. I think that the people tend to think that him moving to a bad offense will hurt him a ton, but this guy is uber talented. I mean, he's probably the 3rd most talented tight end in the NFL behind Graham and Gronk. So he's really big. He's a really big target, and he's a red zone threat. So I think that when you pile all that together, I just think it makes for a really nice tight end. At number 6, I can see him probably. There's a huge, I think, gap between Bennett and the top 5 and Bennett, and then everyone else, I think, is where you kind of start to get murky waters and really don't know what you're drafting. So, but I think Julius Thomas, the safety there is that I think he's the number 1 threat, and I don't see him going away at all. I think he's a good touchdown threat, so I like Julius Thomas a lot. All right, then to round out our top 10 is Delanie Walker at number 9.
I like him more than I think you do. He's one of the more faster, more athletic tight ends in this group. He has a rookie quarterback now. They really don't have they'll probably have one of the worst offenses in football, in my opinion, this coming year. So I think that he's a guy that people aren't going to really draft that high, because obviously
he's not going as a starter. I don't think.
Yeah, no, he isn't. But he finished in.
Yeah, he was good last year. He was a top 8 tight end, I think.
Yeah, he was. He had a very good year last year. I don't think he'll repeat what he did last year. He's just another guy who I have questions about. I would actually draft him as a starting tight end in the later rounds if he was there, but I'd rather go get a guy like Jordan Cameron or Tyler Eifert, actually.
Yeah, I have Delanie Walker at 11, so he's still a tight end 1 for me, but it's just because of what he's done in the past. There's no way he's going to do any better, I don't think. This offense really isn't all that good. He's probably the number 1 threat there, I'll give him that. But even so, he's a decent talent, but he's just kind of like, he was a backup in San Francisco for a while behind Vernon Davis, so he finally got his chance, and he ran with it. He actually did okay, so I don't think he's anyone we're going to talk about in all that much depth, because of really, he's not great at all, but at number 11, to me, I think it's okay. So, all right, now moving on to 11 through 15. Zach Ertz at number 11, Tyler Eifert at 12, Owen Daniels at 13, 14, Larry Donnell, and 15, the suspended Antonio Gates. So, first guy we'll talk about is at number 12, Tyler Eifert.
According to people in Cincinnati, he's, quote, unguardable in this training camp. And I know you're a big Notre Dame fan. You watched him. He's very good talent. I think that he could be a top 10 tight end actually this year. I'm actually drafting him in some of my mock drafts as a starting tight end, believe it or not. He just has great skill. Yeah. He performed unbelievably well at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. He was unfortunately injured all last season, correct?
Yeah, he hurt himself earlier. Yeah, like week 2 he got hurt.
Yeah, so you didn't get to see what he could do. So I guess everyone in the Bengals training camp and organization is saying that he's performing very well, and it'll be interesting to see how he does in preseason. He's a guy that you definitely have to watch in the preseason to see if you should draft him or if you have drafted another tight end. He's there in your free agency because your draft already happened, and you can pick him up and put him on your bench.
Yeah, I think people, like you said, they're underestimating what he can do just because of his injury last year. I mean, last year he was another sleeper candidate that people liked. It's his 3rd year. Like he said, I watched him out of Notre Dame. He's really, really talented. He's athletic. He can jump up there. He's a definite red zone threat. I mean, in college, he was probably one of the best he probably was, I would say, the best tight end in his class that season. So what he can do on the field is great. Andy Dalton's probably not what you'd expect to be his most beneficial.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I hate Andy Dalton. I'll just say it plain and simple. He should not be starting. Yeah, Andy Dalton's horrible. So, to me, I think Eifert could have a nice season. I think that he's not going to be like a top 5 tight end, but top 10, absolutely. I think he can do that. Being the second option in that offense, I think he will be. So, I love Tyler Eifert this year. And then to finish it out, guy, I don't even think we've said the name once. Larry Donnell at 14.
He had a few good weeks in the Giants system, then he started fading off. So he's a guy who's going to be inconsistent, and I think he's going to be touchdown reliable. I mean, that's the only weeks I think that he'll be good is when he has touchdowns. He had a 3-touchdown game on, what was it? It was a Monday or Sunday night game, I think. Mm-hmm. It was a big stage or something like that. So, I mean, he just has a lot of question marks around him because I actually think getting Victor Cruz will hurt him. It won't hurt Odell Beckham, but it's going to hurt him because it's just another target they can throw to. I just don't see him having near top 10 numbers this year as a tight end.
Yeah, to me the reason he's even on my list is just because of what he's done in the past. I don't think he's not going to be a top 10 tight end. Don't draft him as a tight end 1, but if you're in a really deep league and you think that you can maybe take a flyer on him in a late round pick, if you're just waiting on tight end forever, then I think Donnell's your guy probably because he's going to have his weeks, like you said, where he's going to score a touchdown, maybe even 2 touchdowns. So he's very inconsistent, but at 14 I think he's okay because he's someone that you're not going to expect to be your tight end 1.
I have some questions. What do you think about Zach Ertz?
I'll tell you this. I don't like Zach Ertz. People have said he's going to be a sleeper for 2 years now. This is his 3rd year. He's going to be a sleeper. He's not going to do it, okay? Zach Ertz, he's a good player.
And he's out the whole preseason, which really doesn't help his case.
And they have Brent Selleck there. People think that Brent Selleck's just a blocking tight end. The guy had almost 500 receiving yards as a tight end. He's not going to be on the field all the time. Ertz had 1 good game last year. He had 15 catches, actually, in 1 game, which super inflated his numbers, I would say. And that's why people think he'll be a good tight end. I'm avoiding Zach Ertz. They've got more weapons now. I think that they're going to throw it to Sproles. They'll run the ball. I really am not touching Ertz. He's at 11, but to me, I think I have him at... I actually have him at 10, I'm sorry. But he's not someone that I would take as a top 8 tight end where he's being drafted. Do you like him?
I don't hate him like you do. I mean, he was actually a guy I was looking at as my starting tight end because... our league, I made some trades. I got late picks now, so yeah. I was looking because my tight end situation will, unless I have Gronk or have a chance to draft Kelce or Olsen, I'm not going to do it. But, I mean, I was looking, and I was really interested to see how he would do in the preseason, and yesterday they said that he's going to be out because he has hamstring injury, I think, or groin, something like that, and he's out the whole preseason.
Yeah, those aren't good preseason.
I was really looking forward to watching him play in the preseason to see how he does, but I won't get the chance, so I'm definitely staying away from him. But another guy who I think is actually may slip into my top 15 would be Kyle Rudolph after his performance in the first preseason game. He came back, just the injury is always a concern for him.
Yeah. All right, that'll wrap up our tight end rankings for July-August version. Go ahead and comment, agree, disagree, always like, and as always, subscribe at Your Fantasy Nerd. So, thanks for watching, folks.